under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to rearrange the agenda so that we can get the open meeting law presentation done quickly and let this fine gentleman get back to his office.
Thank you very much. I'm Carl Cooper. I'm the city attorney. With me is Amy Schreiber, our deputy city attorney. We're going to kind of break this up, let her do the first half, and I'll cover the second half. One thing we do all remember, I get told from the clerks all the time, make sure you got those microphones up close, make sure they're on when you're talking, and that's about it. So Amy, you get to start.
All right. Like Carl said, I'm Amy Schreiber. I'm the deputy city attorney, and we're just going to talk to you guys about open meeting law and the different things we have to do at these meetings to make sure that we comply with that. The general provisions, it's the public policy of the state that meetings of public bodies be conducted openly and that notices and agendas be provided for such meetings which contain such information as is reasonably necessary to inform the public of the matters to be discussed and decided. And that's straight from Arizona statutes. So what does that mean? The public's business must be conducted in public. We want the public obviously to know what's going on with government, and so we want to be as forthcoming as possible. Again, why does it matter? It protects the public and preserves their right to participate in government and know what's going on. It protects public officials and maintains integrity of the government and builds trust between the government and citizens. Who must comply with open meeting law? You. Public body, you can see the definition there, and under that is a committee, and obviously this is a committee, so it must comply with open meeting law. What constitutes a meeting? Obviously, this is a meeting in the basic sense. It's the gathering in person or through technological devices of a quorum of members of a public body. And we're going to break that down a little bit. You'll notice that it says technological devices. In a couple slides, we'll talk about what that is. But the next slide defines what a quorum is, which is a majority of the members of a board or commission. So if there's 7 members, a quorum would be 4 people, 4 members. Besides a meeting like we're having today, you can also have a meeting on a technological device in a way that you maybe wouldn't think would be a meeting. So that's going to be things like email, phone calls, text messages, posts on Facebook. So for example, if you were to get an email from staff about a matter that was likely to come before your commission, something that you guys were going to discuss and make a decision on, and someone was to reply all and discuss the matter and with a number of people that would create a quorum, that could be violating open meeting law. Same thing if someone went on Facebook and posted about something that something that you guys would be discussing and making a decision on, and another person came in and said, yeah, I think this is a great idea, I'm gonna vote yes, and then someone comes in and likes that, and yet another person chimes in, that could be a violation of open meeting law. So again, it just refrain from using electronic communications to discuss with members matters that are likely to come before your public body and that you're going to make a decision on. There's also something called splintering the quorum. I think of this as like playing telephone. So if 2 people talk about something that you guys are going to make a decision on, and then one of those people goes and talks to another person on the commission, and then that person goes and talks to another person, you could be creating a quorum, and you could be creating an open meeting law violation. It's also important to inform the public about meetings. So no meeting may take place with less than 24 hours notice to the general public and each member of the public body. Obviously, we want to do quite a bit more than 24 hours just to give ample notice, but that's the absolute least that we could do is that 24 hours. And I know Carl and I have gotten calls and there was something wrong with the agenda and it didn't specify like exactly where the meeting was, or the time was wrong or something, and it was 24 hours before, and we said, no, you have to reschedule it and you have to give proper notice.
Excuse me, is the city notification more than 24 hours for the city general meetings? It's like 72 or something, or just curious?
Generally, we try to do that, but it
Okay.
doesn't always happen. But I think for like our meetings, we usually try to release that, I think it's the week before, towards the end of the week.
Yeah.
Just to make sure people have a chance to go through and review it. I'm not sure what the commissions do. I think it may be a little bit short of a timeline.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you get plenty of notice, at least 24 hours, that's legally sufficient. But I agree, if that's what the point you're trying to make, more notice the better.
Yeah. I know it is a few days for the city, and I thought maybe that's required, like 72. I guess it's not. You just kind of try to make it earlier if you can. Okay, thank you.
Would that include weekends as well, or does that have an effect?
The 24-hour notice, would be like a business day. So
Right.
it would not, the weekend would not count as the 24
As
hours.
within the 24 hours? So something Friday at
If you
2
did-
o'clock would be cutting it
Two
really
days,
close.
Yeah, it'd be cutting it really close. So yeah, if you did Friday at 2 o'clock, your meeting would have to occur after 2 o'clock, as long as we got that posting up on that Friday at 2
Okay.
o'clock, yeah.
Thank you.
Like we said before, the agenda must have the date, time, location of the meeting. An agenda must have specific matters to be discussed, considered, or decided at the meeting. And again, just enough information to inform the public. Only items that are specifically listed on the agenda can be discussed. If it's not on the agenda, it cannot be discussed. I know Carl and I have run into this at city council meetings. He's the one that's sitting up there and getting people back on track if they're getting too far off of the agenda, and that would be up to the chair of this committee to and also staff to keep everybody on the agenda to the task at hand. It's really important just for us to minimize subsequent litigation, and so we don't get open meeting law violations. The best practice when that happens is to just kind of table it and put it as a new item on a future agenda. And if action is taken on an item that's not properly noticed on the agenda, it violates open meeting law and it's null and void. Calls to the public. An open call to the public is an agenda item that allows the public to address the public body on topics of concern. The topic does not have to be on the agenda. These are not specifically required by state statute, but we do them for our city council meetings. You may also impose a reasonable time limit. I believe is it 3 minutes? 3 minutes for the city council meetings. As a public body, you have 4 options during call to the public. If someone calls you out and says, I think Carl used an example, this person, is just sketchy and they're just unethical and, calls you out specifically, you can respond to criticism after the close of the call to the public, but that could create kind of a back and forth. So I know that Carl said that he recommends just staying silent and not responding. You can ask staff to review the item. You can ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda so that it can be discussed, or you can just sit in silence. And call to the public is only permitted if it's specifically listed on the agenda. The public's rights, the public has the right to attend, listen, tape record, videotape. They have no right to speak unless there's a call to the public. And they do not have the right to disrupt. Sanctions for violations of open meeting law. Again, you can read them there. If a public officer knowingly violates open meeting law, the court may impose a civil penalty. Usually what happens is a citizen makes a complaint that we violated the open meeting law. They make a complaint to the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office sends us a letter outlining the complaint. We get a chance to respond. I've responded to one of these before. So what we do is we defend it and say, no, we don't think that we violated open meeting law. Or, we say, yeah, that actually was unfortunately a violation. This is what we're going to do to try to correct that in the future, whether that be education or anything along those lines. And the AG, Attorney General, is more about education rather than punishing people. So with that, we'll move on to conflicts of interest. Carl's going to.
I need water because I got to talk so much, but I'll try and keep it pretty quick. So we all heard of conflict of interest. Conflict of interest isn't a dirty word. It just means that you have some proprietary pecuniary interest in whatever the topic is before you, or your family may have that interest. All you have to do is declare it. What you can do is tell the clerk's office, fill out some paperwork, and then best bet is just to step behind the wall here and just wait till that topic's over, because your involvement then could become problematic because they're pretty strict on conflict of interest, especially when there's some money involved. And again, could be a family member, a close family member, so parents, brother, sister, believe it includes in-laws as well. You just want to make sure that you kind of know what their involvement is potentially in some of these areas. And you generally have a rough idea. If you don't know, you don't know, and that happens. We don't know what your interests are in things. So if you're not sure, call us or call the clerks and we can sort through it. So if it looks like you have a conflict, there's a way it might be defined as a remote interest. And remote interests are statutorily defined as these minor relationships. And this slide here, I'm not going to go through, there's 2 slides. They're really kind of in-depth and a little involved about ownership, levels of ownership, what your employment status is with these various organizations. That's where these kind of might let you not have that conflict. And again, if that's a problem, we'll talk about it in the one-on-one. See, there's just so much in there. So like I say, you have a question, call us. These are the statutes. Again, call us, call the clerk's office, and we can get it sorted out. That's what we're here for. Because we want to make sure you don't get in trouble, and I know you don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to cover basic parliamentary procedure, real set and simple. Obviously, it's the rules to cover the conduct of meetings. We do not use Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order are very technical. They're finicky. It's a book like this thick. I don't like it. I haven't memorized it. I don't think anybody does, except really weird people, I think. To me, it stifles discussion. And if you know what those rules are, you can use those to get your position, your way going while stifling somebody else's position. So I think having some rules and procedure is great because that allows that open discussion and it doesn't involve chaos. So the big one is listen to each other. If you want to make a motion, you have to obtain the floor, which will be your chairman. Just wait patiently till someone's done talking. Obtain the floor, make your motion, make sure it's clear. Try not to make negative motions. Try to make sure it's not too convoluted. That happens at our council meetings sometimes, if you ever watch, and we got to think about them and like, okay, what does this mean? So try and keep it simple, straight. So I move that we do this. I move that we do not do this. I know I said don't do a negative motion, but we'll get there. Once you make your motion, someone needs to second that motion, and then If someone doesn't automatically make it, the chairperson can call for it. If there's no second to the motion, motion fails. The chairman can make a motion, the chairman can second a motion, the chairman gets to vote. So once that's done, chairman, what you want to do, or chairperson, you should, I'd prefer if you repeat the motion. That way everybody knows what's on the floor. If you need to discuss more, discuss more. Once you're ready, you guys take your vote. So this is basically what it is. Make sure the motions are in order, obtain the floor properly, speak clearly and concisely, and I like the one is be courteous. You all should get along with each other, try not to do personal attacks. We've pretty good here in the city. I haven't seen anything like that, but if you watch some of those meetings like on YouTube of other places, there's some absolute chaos, and that doesn't accomplish anything. It's good to have discussion, even if you disagree on the discussion. That's fine, but that's democracy. So I think that's all we've got for you guys. If you have any questions, we can handle it.
I have a question, Mr. Cooper. On the motions, this is a tiny technicality, but I'm just kind of curious. I watch the council meetings quite often, and I'm here quite often too. When the meeting is closed, when it's adjourned, is that supposed to be a motion also and everybody to vote on that, or can the mayor and whomever just both bang?
The chairperson can adjourn it,
Okay,
or if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn, you can do it
okay,
that
so
way.
either
But
way works. Okay,
you can see in our meetings, we know we're done, so
Yes.
the mayor just goes, we're done.
yep,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
I've noticed that you don't use a call for the question, and the question is normally called for to stop discussion
Right.
and move on to the vote.
Right.
Is that something that,
It's perfectly allowable, yes.
Okay.
It just doesn't get used too often. It happens once in a while on council meetings, but not very often. But it can be done, definitely.
okay,
And that would be its own motion, so, no, call the question. Yes, it's a motion.
It's a motion,
And
it
then you-
requires
You
vote.
do that first, then you go to the original motion on the floor.
but it's not necessary.
No, you don't have to
If
do that.
everybody's,
If everybody's ready, you can just take the vote. But I think that, I see that when it's been going on a long time and everybody keeps saying the same thing over and over again, and one person's gonna be, listen, this is enough.
yeah.
And you've
Does
seen
the
those meetings,
question
it
need
gets
to-
there.
Does the question need to be seconded?
I'm gonna say yes, because there's only a couple motions that don't need to be seconded, and I don't know if that one falls in there.
Okay.
So I'm not 100%, but I'll double check and I'll let you know.
We haven't ever had that as
Yeah.
an issue as long as I've been on the commission.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be prepared if it
Yeah.
does come up.
The default rule always asks for a second, but I'll look and see if what the rules say about that. Generally, I'll refer to Robert's rules or what the generic rules are, and I'll let Doug and Janie know, and they can let you know for sure. Or if I run into you, I'll let you know.
Or you can just call.
Or I could just call you too. We get so used to not talking in person, it's always doing these other things. So, yeah, that makes much more sense.
Well, thank you.
Yep, not a problem. Is that it?
Any other questions?
All right. Well, you have a
John,
fantastic.
do you have, are you up there?
We'll let-
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Did you
Yes,
have any?
no questions from, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. We'll move on to consideration of public comments. Janie, is anybody,
Are we going to approve minutes?
oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. We had a meeting on the 9th of December, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? We'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as they exist. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, consideration of the public comments. Do we have anybody that wanted to talk with us? No? Okay, then we'll move on to old business, old business. You'll recall that the FedEx office is vacant and available, and we table it till this meeting. Do you have new and additional information for us?
First off, sir, I want to say real quick, welcome aboard, Councilwoman. Do you prefer it, Tamara? Tamara, well, welcome aboard. No, I think you'll find out that this is a great group of guys to work with. They very, how can we say, very much supportive of the community, the airport, and the industrial park. So you're with a good group around here. I think what I may want to do is implement a little bit clarification on this tabling. We're looking for multiple recommendations, not just one final, but multiple. Should something immediately pop up to where we could put it in there, put it in the works, then we'll do that. If it just turns into something that's, how can we say, where we can't find immediate use, then we'll go with a little bit more extreme route. So we're just looking for multiple recommendations from the commission.
Okay, I have a thought again, like I did last time probably. I know we were going to meet with you, I think, and look at this. We never really did we, between last meeting and now? Did we? We never looked at that space, did we?
I know some, a lot of individuals have, a few individuals have, but not all.
Okay. And it's 163 square feet?
If you
Is that
need me
something like
to, I have
think
the
it's
PowerPoint
written here, I
presentation
think.
from last.
153, okay, thank you. So it's small, and this would be one of those conflict of interest things, but I spoke with Tim Garlick, who was a former commissioner, who he and I are involved with creating this museum down at the airport, and was just, it depends on what the conditions were or the stipulations would be, I suppose, but we thought it might be an interesting idea if we could make a small exhibit space out of it at least, and of course, we're a nonprofit, so we're looking for that kind of break, if you will, for now. But if someone comes along and wants to pay for the space to do something, that's the way it should happen. But, and I've thought of this a little bit, and I can't think of anybody else right now that would really want to be out there.
Well, it goes for $100 per square feet, but we'll slash it. Yes.
I mean, if it's going to be used for nothing, then I think we would love to, somehow figure out some kind of deal. And we could spruce it up a little bit even on our end too as well, if it needs a paint work and that. We'd like to look at it. Tim is going to be around Wednesday, as you know, probably, so we'd like to look at it Wednesday before we meet with the city manager, if we
Okay,
could.
so one recommendation is a small exhibit for the Aviation Heritage Center of Kingman. Am I got that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Anybody else have any ideas?
I don't know. I thought like a snack place, like have vending machines and stuff in there, probably, maybe too. Something along those lines.
Were you viewing this just open up for the entire public or just for the pilot community?
Well, because it's connected to the terminal public area, and is that door's outside of the gate, right?
We do have one door,
Yeah.
which is this door that goes inside the terminal side, but this door goes outside the gate and is unmonitored, or it goes on to inside the fenced-in area of the
Inside
courtyard.
Oh, yeah.
I think we used to have a soda machine outside on the airplane side. Wasn't there one out there years ago, Janie? Was that outside or was that in the lounge itself? Was outside, yeah. And I don't know why it went away, but that was also, but probably not good for food out there if it's really hot, if it's not refrigerated or something.
Okay, so our little vending area, a resting area with soda machines, maybe some snacks.
Every time I've been into the Pilot's Lounge this year, I've found no water in the refrigerator. I should take that back. I did find one bottle of water here recently. I think if we could stock it a little more frequently, that would help. Possibly, if we had a lot of pilots' lounges have a TV, Some of them even have a big recliner that you can take a nap in. I'd like to see something where it would be more conducive to getting a little shut-eye.
You're saying in the pilot's lounge itself right now, you're talking about?
Well, this would be a separate room, which would be quieter.
For the space we're talking about, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the red area. It's got the one window shortly in that hallway from the terminal side, but that would be the only window, and it's relatively secluded in there. That's also a possibility. But if we did have a vending machine of some sort, that would be beneficial because maybe they'd want to buy some water. But the reason we have the refrigerator in the Pilot's Lounge extension is so that there would be water, or if somebody went to town and got TV dinner, they could put it in the freezer, take a nap, and then use the microwave, and then get on with their flight. I spent too many nights in pilot lounges all over the country where it's really nice that you can stretch out and get some shut-eye.
So let me just make sure I'm clarified on this. You want this to remain separate, but be much more of a little bit more of a long-term stay, like let's say a few hours of sleeping, napping, so separated from everything else.
You could put a door in so that it would be accessible from inside the pilot's lounge.
The only concern I have with putting a vending machine in a room where you're having people take naps is people going in and throwing in quarters. The next thing you know, you hear a Coke drop out of a vending machine. Curious if that's the case. If you're looking at using that extra door, how could I say, somewhere along this line to access to the pilot's lounge,
You could
and
put a
you're
sign
looking
on
at
it.
some type of vending machine in the area or something should our restaurant be closed, should the FBO not be available, would the pilot's lounge extension be a possible good spot? Few times I go in there, I never see anybody use that flat desk. The only thing I see in there is the fridge and
The fridge, the microwave.
yeah, and then a few boxes that are stacked in there, and that's about it.
But the reason we've got that flat desk is for preparation for a flight.
I've never seen anybody use it, sir.
I would say it's not used very much.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's used, but very minimally, I'm guessing. But-
And that's what I was kind of wondering, when it comes to that flat desk and so forth, I see a lot more people using the one that's actually in the middle of the room for their preparation.
In the bigger room, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying we could move the desk and put either a door there or a vending machine in that location or something like that in that spot?
That's what I was kind of thinking, the vending machine and microwave being separate from the other room, so it's not as disturbing.
I got you.
Or in the way, plus it keeps the 1940s through 50s motif alive in that area, instead of having a large Pepsi or Coca-Cola machine in the middle of the room.
Well, if you wanted to take that desk out, I think we should return it to the donor, which is Scott Brackett.
Okay.
He needs more stuff.
Yeah, I need to also verify that.
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be
know
fine.
exactly
Yeah.
what's happened in the
Of
past,
course,
and I'm not familiar with the state rules on donations to the city and so forth, and back and forth.
I'd like to check it out with you on Wednesday for sure, though, for either application, you know, to see how it feels and looks and that kind of stuff.
Can you possibly prepare a cost analysis for us, and then we can have a vote ultimately
For every single option,
for the various options, please?
Yeah, I can, but it's gonna have to, this is probably gonna have to roll over into next year for the actual modifications. And it may not be the next meeting, because I'm gonna have to reach out to other individuals,
Okay,
companies.
so. Is that agreeable to everybody?
So in summary, you want to take the extension, put the vending machines in there, and then just make the office into a sleeping area, a short stay sleeping area.
That's a possibility, or we've got two basic options on the table.
Would, just a thought process, would it be better to leave that room separate should we do have a business that wants to come in and use that area? Let's say another flight school that's required to have a meeting location.
Could they still get to it from, if the public area is, so is that door to the public area, the terminal public area locked after hours from the pilot's lounge, or is that still open?
Are you talking about this
Yeah.
door right here?
Yeah.
That one has a keypad.
Yeah,
Okay, so you just
the
put
one
keypads
on-
on both doors that go into that vacant office space, keep it separate as a separate area.
This one right here is always kept locked. We could always put a keypad back on top of it.
Yeah. So if we could put keypads on that door and then keep that as separate space, just use the lounge extension to put the vending machines, and then that area is a sleeping area. I mean, that still makes it to where it's,
Yeah.
you know, separate. You're not going to get interrupted by people coming in and out constantly, I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't have a problem with it being in the sleeping area, personally. I agree that if it was getting a lot of traffic, but if the only traffic it's gonna get is from pilots, I don't think it's gonna be it's not gonna keep you up all night. So I wouldn't have a problem with it being in the vacant office area.
So you want the vending machines in the vacant office area?
If we're gonna have vending machines, we could have them either place, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, if I was trying to sleep and somebody was coming in there and I'm hearing clunk, clunk, you know, all these different noises and stuff, it'd kind of be a little annoying to me.
Yeah, I think the machine should be back in the other smaller space and separate, personally.
Okay,
And then too, if that office space ends up getting used, then we don't have to worry about where to relocate those vending machines in the future too. Because those things can be pretty heavy. Even though the
yeah.
vendor's gonna be moving it, we'd still end up in the same position of trying to figure out where to put it in the future, if that happens.
I don't know that they're gonna get a whole lot of traffic, and so I'm thinking a vendor may be hard to find. But,
I think it'd be good to have a sign outside of the terminal building and to note that when pilots, or even at the fuel pump or something like that, to even
yeah,
tell people that they can go in there and pick up something to eat and rest or something, you know, a little sign there for after hours,
Just says
after
vending
hours vending,
machines.
whatever. Say again?
Something that just says vending machines inside.
yeah.
Yeah. We could do that next to the self-serve fuel pump.
Who knows, maybe more people end up going in there.
Could be.
So officially, is this being tabled again, or is that what we're gonna have to call this?
Unless we wanna have a motion, if there's a motion.
I mean, what you can do is request a motion on this
I-
for these
I'd
options.
kinda like to know what it's gonna cost.
You could request a motion on these options, and ask for possibly, I want to say you could probably do a request for motion and then request for options. I mean, cost modeling on this.
Okay.
Because we're still gonna have to research on the vending machine, still see if anybody's capable of doing that, or if they want to go that route. Plus the remodeling, plus the cost of, how can we say, redoing those rooms, because they're not exactly in the best condition. So,
So a motion to review the options for
review these,
the space.
review these options and come
We'll
back
entertain a
and determine
motion.
cost.
I do have one more question though before we do that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Have you had any interest put out for that office space? Like, has anybody shown any interest whatsoever outside of the commission so far for ideas for what to use it for?
I've had within the past couple of weeks, had one business that may come to the airport. However, they have not gave any firm dedication on it. That's why I was like, these are just recommendations. If these people do wish to come in, businesses, and actually physically use that facility for a business purpose, then that will definitely trump all, because that's income and that's an actual business into the community and for the purpose of that. This is more for if that falls through, how can we utilize that space and instead of letting it sit there not being utilized, not for the benefit of a business or to the public or to the private community.
Does it need paint and flooring regardless? Or,
It's going to need that.
so we should probably consider doing that anyway, right? Just getting a price for that and having that done, no matter what happens to it.
That's probably gonna have to wait till next year, next
Okay.
fiscal year, because we missed that spot.
That's
That's why I was
after
trying
July,
to
you're
push that
saying?
forward. Yeah, last meeting,
Okay.
and we kind of missed that side, but we at least have the option, and we can at least do the research.
Okay.
But
Submit a motion, put in those recommendations, and get cost analysis.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we get a cost analysis on the proposals and move forward. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
all right,
Motion carries. New business. We have started a new year, and that brings us to elections for the office of chairman and vice chairman. I'll open this up for, let's do chairman first and vice chairman second. Are there any nominations?
Yes. I would like to nominate myself for chair.
Okay, we have one nomination for chair. Are there any other nominations for chairman?
I'll nominate Dave Amspoker.
We have two nominations for chair. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I guess we should call for a vote. All in favor of,
Do we have to, hold on a second, do we have to fill the other seats? Like the vice chair that I'm presently occupying?
well, I think we'll do that separately, or do you think? It's a
Just
good
one,
question.
yeah.
We've never had an election where there were two people vying for the same position.
The other question I'd like to ask is or would you be willing to concede this? Otherwise, I'm going to bring you up too. You know, not concede, but are you interested in still maintaining that position? Is that a fair question?
I'm willing to stay on as chairman.
Okay.
And
let's,
I've been nominated, and
sorry, I apologize. What we can do is we could take some sheets of paper and let you guys write it down, first chair
Okay.
and then vice chair, and then from there we could do the votes.
okay.
Well, I was talking about making it confidential if they would like to, very much similar to how city council does it. So, sorry about this. I don't think we ever ran across this before.
It's news to me.
The question is, how do we do John Stutzman? Well, John, do you mind making your vote vocal?
No, that's fine.
Could probably assume that he nominated Am Spoker, that might be his vote.
You're gonna run out of paper.
I can still another one for Jack.
You can tear these in half and use the other half for device.
If we have, got one more there. While Janie's tabulating the votes, why don't we go ahead and open the floor for vice chairman?
1 second, sir. We need to know who the chair is first, so we
I'm
don't.
sorry?
We need to know who the chair is going to be first, so we don't double stack,
Oh,
double vote. And John, did you vote, who did you wish to vote for? Apologize for putting you on the spot on this one.
It's okay. Since I nominated Am Spoker, I'll vote for Am Spoker.
Pressure's on.
Device? Who are we voting against for Paul and who else?
well,
Or nobody else yet?
I don't think anybody has been nominated yet. I'd like to nominate Paul Gaines.
I am willing to step down if people really want to, but I will also step up if I need to, just letting everybody know.
Is there anybody else that wants to run for vice chairman?
Well, since I was unsuccessful with the chairperson and he's willing to step down, if you don't mind, I would like to step into that.
So,
I'll make it easy and withdraw myself.
okay, all in favor of Brandon for vice chairman, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations.
Am I assuming that you won the chair, Dave?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
And, no, I'm not going to say that. Moving forward on the agenda, and my computer keeps going off. We have staff reports. And I don't see anybody here from the industrial park.
You're stuck with me. I apologize.
You're the whole banana?
So once again, since I am representing economic development, you could ask for anything. I promise to give it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, if you need it, if I need to make it up, I'll do it. Chair Am Spoker, Vice Chair Brandon, that's the first time I had to say that. Congratulations on you, to you both. For the airport report, if this thing wants to work with me or not. Update on the airport development. We are getting very close to finalizing the contract with the Atlas Group. We've received updates to their comments for the contract Friday, and we're going to get that out to all the city staff for them to start reviewing. We're still in negotiations with them. We're starting to talk pricing. We have also outreached to Kaufman Associates, who is our airport planning environmental. They are coming in on the city's behalf to assist us with the hangar layouts to make sure we're not going to be penetrating any surfaces and to get the best use of that land. And they are very much specialists in this front, so if there's not going to be a proper use of hangars or hangars are in the wrong location, they will definitely be pointing that out. We've had a conversation with Atlas also this morning. Atlas is aware of this and they do see the need for that. So next week we're going to be lining up meetings to sit down and hopefully finalize the hangar layout so we can bring that before the commission for their approval. On the other, late last year, we had a RFP that was issued for ground leasing 6500 Flightline Drive. And we received one RFP from West Coast Netting, and we're currently issuing or working on the contract for that. We believe we've received all comments from the city. That's going to go to West Coast Netting for their review, and then we're going to have discussions. They're looking at installing a $1.5 million hangar approximately in that location.
What's the square footage of the proposed hangar? You know?
Oh gosh.
If you don't know, that's okay.
Yeah, I can't say off the top of my head, even though I've been looking at it about 4 or 5 times in a given week. All I can remember is the cost, because I'm always looking at hangar cost. It's very nice what they're going to do, and one of the purpose behind it, not only to store its own personal aircraft, but also for small nonprofit events, such as his flight clinic that he holds.
And where
Once a
again
year.
specifically is that going to be?
It is going to be right adjacent to the sheriff's hangar
Okay.
and Zymax hangar, that one gap. For major projects, Taxiway Bravo, we are actually the contract is in the city's attorney's hands along with the deputy city manager and risk management to just review that contract before that goes in front of city council. We're hoping to break ground and start milling up late April, early May for the Taxiway Bravo project. It is Sunland that came in as the lowest bidder.
And was it within budget?
It is with budget. It is within budget.
Those are the same ones that did the Dross area, the paving on the Dross, is that correct?
Did the pavement of the Dross and also did our primary runway.
Okay.
Dross project, we finally received the as-built. We are currently awaiting DEQ's closeout, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Our contractors, Haley and Aldridge, heavily push for bringing the pollutant levels into residential range. And I'm not an environmental specialist on this, but they said they got it well within the residential range. That prevents, how can we say, any type of deed restrictions. It means that everybody just walks away. You don't have to do any additional work, nothing else. DEQ's a little bit hesitant on that, so they're trying to convince DEQ to leave it as in the residential range. If it doesn't, if they say no, we prefer having it strictly as commercial, then we have to hire somebody to come back out, resurvey the area, put deed restrictions on the area, and it comes in with a few more other items, such as making sure that nobody's living in that area, nobody at all. So I got to give our consultants, our contractors, a lot of credit. They are going to bat with us to reduce a lot of those restrictions in that area. Master drainage study, we have received the master drainage study. It's currently in review by staff. When we review that, we'll be summarizing that study and presenting that to the commission. But we're still in review for that. We're expecting to have that closed out before the end of this fiscal year. Taxiway Delta rehab and redesign. The plans are 60% complete. Our engineers came out last week. They reviewed some of the electrical work along the taxiway to verify how much new conduit they got to run. They even took a look at our electrical vaults. Even though Taxiway Delta is being rehabbed, due to the fact that the signs and the lights are connected to the taxiway, we have to redo those lights. And we may as well go up to the brand new LED, which means we're going to have to go back to our regulators and step them down. Our regulators are designed for much more older lights, and when you run them at that high power for older lights, but you have LED, they have a tendency of warming up and heating up. I've heard rumors of some people able to cook eggs on top of the regulators. I have not seen that. That's just the rumor I heard. So we may have to be addressing the regulators with that same project. Same thing with runway closure boxes. We received both our runway closure boxes. My staff is very eager to use them, but we want to use them for maintenance routines, so please don't go landing belly up or doing anything on the runway that forces us to shut them down. But our staff is really excited about them because they've already been playing around with them and see how much quicker we could actually get out there and close down a runway, whereas in the past, it took us forever, especially with high winds and using giant plastic X's along with sandbags. Now we can just go out there, trailer those X's out there, actually tandem trailer both at one time so one person can do it. Set up a Xbox in under 10 minutes by somebody doing it by themselves, and then putting the other one out under 10 minutes. So you're looking at maybe 20 minutes total for shutting down the runway. That's just with one person. So it's extremely beneficial. Airport admin and terminal landscaping. If anybody has not noticed, on the back side of the airport admin office, we did redo the terminal landscaping, or landscaping on the back side to reflect the terminal. Reason why we went and we did that is because a lot of pilots that stop at our self-fueling service often want to come use the restroom, and we have a pretty much open door policy when it comes to those pilots and assisting them, so we'll open our office doors. Wasn't exactly the best looking whenever they were coming in. It was great black gravel P-rock, but now it looks very much in line with the terminal building and the aesthetics. We also cleaned up the front side of the airport terminal building a little bit, adding some additional rocks and additional landscaping for our people that are coming in and visiting our terminal building with the airport cafe. Pappy project, very similar, 60% plans done, along with reviewing the electrical for the Delta project. For the Pappy project, the electrical engineers came out and reviewed the Pappy project. There was one area where we had to have a Cat X issued, a category exclusion for environmental. Turns out the power control unit box for the runway 3 side has to be moved outside of the object-free area to the runway. We're trying to get that buried. One is that reduces the amount of items popping up out of the ground, and it means we don't have to run additional conduit away from the Pappies inside of the runway safety area. Unfortunately, we could not find any companies that were willing to hold warranty work if you bury the power control unit box, so we have to move it outside the safety area.
Yeah.
Wincombe project, same. Actually, we may get this done a little bit sooner than definitely going to get it done sooner than the Delta project. It's about 60% done. That's only time where that's going to require a Category X is for one windsock, which is going to be on the runway 3 end, where it's located. If you're looking north on the runway, it's located on the west side. We're going to have to move it all the way over to the other side of the runway to the east side. We can't move it too much further over to the west end because then it starts penetrating into the areas of Taxiway Delta, the safety areas for Taxiway Delta and object-free areas. For hanger lights, all scheduled maintenance hanger lights have been done on A, B, and C hangers. What ended up happening there was we had, at one point, the wrong type of solar charge on one of those lights, and it was causing the light bulbs to burst or break. So we replaced that. We got that solar power, that power issue corrected. And then we also installed 2 lights on each end of the D hangers, taxiway or D hangers. That's to assist pilots who are taxiing at night to see the edges of those hangers. New airfield directional sign panels. We have been installing new side panels. If you have not taxied down our runways or taxiways, you've seen brand new yellow M, black and red signs. We have a few more that we have to replace, but they're not going to be whitewashed anymore, solid white with where you could barely see the logos. They're going to be bright, colorful, and vibrant. Along with the runway safety area signs, they have been replaced. For ADOT, FAA ADOT coordination on other items, so kind of skipped it. The land release, we are currently waiting on appraisals, values of the 790 acres. That is required for you to issue the letter of intent to release and dispose the property. So we've reached out to 2 companies to do an appraisal, because when airports sell land, when it's going to be over $1 million, you need to have 2 appraisals. So we're seeking 2 appraisals right now to get that option. And then once we get that value of that property, then we'll submit that letter and start moving forward with the land release. Hopefully the airport compliance office will bless it, and then we'll begin the NEPA process again. Fortunately, we've already been through majority of this process. We already have an industrial park master development plan, so it should move a lot quicker. This NEPA process, or EA process, should not take an entire year. We're hoping that it'll take a little bit less. For hangar occupancy wait list, it's been a while, but now just about all our hangars are full. All our hangars are full. We just have one cover tie down that's open. That was as of last week. We have 8 on the wait list.
Which number is that? Which one?
I can't remember off the top of my head, sir.
Okay.
We have on the executive hangars. We have 8 on the wait list. B and C hangars, we have 8. This 8 is the same group that does not have aircraft. They're in the process of procuring aircraft, or something has happened. They do not have aircraft at this time. So due to the fact that we don't have a very long wait list, we just keep them in there just in case. So whenever we do have a spot open up, we'll give them a call and go down that list until we get to somebody who does have an aircraft.
Any word on when we're going to have PAPIs on runway 3?
The PAPI project, that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on the PAPI project. The construction should start before the end of this fiscal year.
That's a safety issue. I'd really like to see it accelerated.
We got to wait on ADOT and everybody to review the PAPI project. They're currently reviewing those plans.
Okay.
For our actual airport budget, we're already, as of January 31st, we're 58% through the fiscal year. Sorry, I redid the little bit of the budgeting report. I kind of reduced an additional line item in there. For the total revenue, our actual revenue for the airport has brought in over $1 million worth of revenue, $1,081,000. For the industrial park, $110,000 for a total revenue of $1,192,553. For the expenses, we have used $1,026,917 on the airport's operating budget, and then for the industrial park, only $13,200. I know for the industrial park, everybody's going, well, that's well below, it's only less than 10%, but we are kind of anticipating already having that land release done and doing appraisals and using that money to use for those, for that development of that property. For the airport side, it's roughly around 51% of our budget has been used. So we're really kind of in line. We're about to use a little bit more, especially with this development coming forth. We're about to start really using a lot of that budget. So expect that to be on track for the end of this fiscal year.
I had a concerned citizen, we'll say, ask me, the newspaper ran an article about work that's going to be done in the industrial park, and that the airport was going to pay a portion of it. Was that a misprint by the newspaper, or are you familiar with what I'm addressing?
I'm not familiar with what the concern is. I do know the only item that the airport was looking at putting funding toward was the 2 roads inside the industrial park, which we have tried multiple times in the past to do. Unfortunately, we never had the funding. That will be in the industrial park report over here. But that was in conversations with the FAA before the funding, because we're trying to get those roads off our books. Right now, those roads are on our books, so the airport's responsible for maintaining them. If we spend the money, put that forth, and get those roads repaired and then flip it over to the county, then we no longer have to maintain those roads.
So it's already been approved by the FAA?
It's already been approved by the FAA. We already done 1 out of the 3 roads.
That's what I'll take back to them. Thank you.
I want to say that's the one that the concerned citizen may be speaking about.
Yeah. And they got a grant from someplace,
Yes, sir, they do.
and we're only having to pay, what, 5%, I think?
It's going to be in here. That was economic development. I'll get to that here in a
Okay.
moment. For the actual fuel cells, we are still overall tracking a little bit higher than we did last year in our fuel cells. We're actually doing that, be honest with you, a little bit better than expected. Not by much. I mean, just almost doubling the amount. A lot of that is contributed into an increase in business operations. We also have a little bit more flight schools coming in from the Phoenix area, having conversations with them, and we're having an increase in military operations. It's not by much, but we are seeing a slight increase in Black Hawks. Singapore Air Force came through twice this year. We've had some Ospreys that have one Osprey that stopped by. They've received fuel. And then we had the parachute operations earlier this year where they received a lot of fuel too. Any other questions on the airport reports?
On the airport development portion, the very first thing you mentioned, I know you said it's getting tightened up and narrowing down and soon to move forward. Do you think by summer there'll be a vote on the council for this thing? Do you think it'll be by that time they'll probably?
It's probably going to end up being the springtime.
Springtime. So
Yes, it's probably going to end up being the springtime. This is something that the city has never experienced before. This is something that a lot of airports have never experienced before. The airports that usually experience these are like Mesa Gateway.
Yeah, it's a
Reno
big.
Stead that has.
It's a huge investment.
It is massive. And just for clarification, for the LOI, letter of intent, that pushed this forward, that pushed the RFQ and RFP process, they're estimating around $250 million investment. Everything from ground hardening to hangars around 100,000 square feet. So this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
Everybody hopes that this is just something really easy. It's not, because you still have to go through the FAA. FAA does have the ability to come in and approve your leases beforehand, review and approve your leases beforehand. And with this much of a development, they are very much eyeing it because they do realize that we will be going up to them and asking for money for new taxiways or supporting that to occur. Even though we're expecting the developer to pay for those brand new taxiways, their share, they're saying at least go forward and help support this for us. It's going to be public-private partnerships.
Well, plus on top of that, if they even if the developer puts in the taxiway, eventually, we're gonna have to resurface those. Because they're not going in with concrete, so how often do you have to resurface, blacktop?
20 years.
asphalt? 20 years.
20 years.
So that's gonna be an expense down the road that DFAA wants to be concerned of.
Very much aware, and we do too, because the maintenance of it until you get to that 20-year mark is the airport. That's your preventative maintenance, your seal coat, your crack seals, your
Yeah.
paint. So it's going to be fairly lengthy. What they're also looking at doing, and I'll speak a little bit on this, on that far eastern edge, that's where they're looking at pushing the fence out, conducting ground hardening, and moving all the stored aircraft out there. So that is the location, that will be the first spot that we're in discussions about phasing first. Because where you have all of this area on the west side, that's where all the stored aircraft is right now. It's gonna have to be moved out to that location so we could develop the opposite end. Any other questions? Okay. Forgive me, I'm gonna do the best I can on this one. This is the actual industrial park, report. What we're gonna have is for the Kingman Terminal Railroad, they have placed in there around, in 2024, the rail revenue earned inside our park was $145,230.75. They've had over 2,800 carloads, with the actual Dross project contributing 890 carloads. That is pretty significant. Now, this is something new, how the economic development has reached out and they now have a system called Pacer AI. And that assists with determining who and how many people come inside of the industrial park and even where they come from. Because one thing I got a kick out of when they were showing this to me was a good chunk of people before they come inside the industrial park, besides coming from their homes early in the morning, is two particular gas stations on Route 66. And a lot of them, when they go out, they go right back to those gas stations. It can't tell you exactly who, but it gives you a general percentage of where they go, including Walmart. And there's a small 7.32% that go to another job. So it's a fairly nifty system. They're working with me, or economic development found some ways how we could use that for the airport. We have not really had time to reach out to them because that was on Friday or Thursday when we found out about this. So we're going to try taking advantage of that on the airport side. In 2021, Pacer AI has discovered that the industrial park had over 401,000 visits. That's people coming in and out of the park, with 57,000 being visitors. That's people that do not come in on a routine basis, that show up once and then leave. That could be truckers. We're not 100% sure. All we know is that we had about 57,000 visitors. In 2022, they had 394,000 visits, with 64,300 being visitors. In 2023, they had 405,000 visits, with 64,000 also being visitors. And then also in 2024, they had 436,000 visits, with 69,200 visitors. A couple of months ago, the airport, or actually back in January, the airport held the CAMA Mixer. That is a little event that's really held by the Chamber of Commerce, where our Kingman and Mojave Manufacturing Association get together and host a little event for city council, for members inside the industrial park, and for Chamber of Commerce representatives. We had 70 attendees, and several speakers from Dolly Moore, who is the head of the CAMA mixer, CAMA. Unfortunately, me, I know that everybody loves hearing my voice. Terry Curtis, Stacy Kennipson, the head of the college, and Lori Bradlow, she also gave a speech there. For other developments inside the industrial park, Shamball and Sons and Progressa Pipe recently completed a 74,000 square foot facility and received their certificate of occupancy in January 2025. This expansion marks a significant growth in their previous 15,000 square foot building. So 74,000 square foot building from a 15,000 square foot building, that's a pretty sizable increase. As of November, their smaller fabricational shop employed 47 individuals. They plan to add an additional 50 to 60 employees between December 2024 and over the next few months as they ramp up to full production in their facility. During Economic Development's visit 2 weeks ago, they observed that nearly all of the new equipment installed and nearly ready to begin production. Forgive me, it's fun speaking for this long.
And what do they manufacture?
Pipe.
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 How many pipe companies do we have at the airport?
Oh, gosh. You're talking about the industrial park?
I
Yeah.
think 5 or 6.
Well, I know 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. There's Cantex, and there's JM Eagle, and there's the, I'm sorry?
ISCO.
ISCO?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ISCO.
so that's 3. And what's the one by the gate to go into the hangars, the rented hangars, A, B, and C row?
That's it. That's ISCO.
That's ISCO?
That's ISCO.
Okay. What's the one over across from the truss factory?
I'm not too sure, sir. I could ask Economic Development for the next commission to provide a list of the companies and what they produce.
I think we've got like 6 of them. There's also the new one there, further towards the railroad that is off on the right. So, I just find it interesting that we have an abundance of pipe manufacturers, and the other thing we have a lot of is marijuana grow stations. So, is there any aviation businesses that's looking at coming at this point?
Are you talking about inside of the industrial park?
I'm talking
Or are
about
you talking-
anywhere, because for instance, the upholstery shop is outside the fence. Brackett Aviation is outside the fence. The Goodyear Tire Company is outside the fence. Do we have any aviation related?
Outside the fence, sir, nothing to my knowledge. Inside the fence, yes. However, I cannot speak about that at this time.
Right.
So, Arizona Commerce Authority, Economic Strengths Project Grant Program. The city was awarded a grant in 2024. We finally received the grant award letter, and it was officially accepted by City Council on February 18, 2025. The grant provides $450,000 to fund and reconstruction of Transport and Government Way. The next steps is to go out to bid, update for the planners. We're just updating the plans right now. I do know several businesses have put in some money, and they do not actually have the breakdown on the share for us. I'll have to come back, or I'll have to get them to come back and actually have those breakdowns. But we do have some private businesses that put in some funds. MCC, Advanced Manufacturing Training Center. Now, you know what, I could read off this, but I actually took a little visit. That is very impressive over there. We did walk around their building and see with the contractor to see what's going to go in. They're expecting to start, they're planning to start the actual classes in August. So that's looking at about 1 year's worth of construction. The city will not only, how could I say, the facility will not only sit back and strengthen our education, but they'll also ready our future for those industrial jobs that our country so badly needs, and including our businesses inside of our industrial park. They will have, one of the interesting things was looking at the layout for the welding center with the TIC welding, the fire suppression system, the ventilation. Just really, really impressed by that facility. It is going to be big. There's actually 2 floors, with the majority of the manufacturing being on the bottom floor, and your much more IT and technical being on the top floor looking down at the facility. So it's going to be very impressive. Does anybody have any questions regarding the reports?
It's been fun watching it be built. You can see it from our back area, obviously. It's nice seeing it go up and take shape.
And I will say this, from my conversations with a few people, it's only going to grow. This is only the first phase.
Good. Any other questions for Manager Breckenridge? We'll move on to announcements by commission members. Commissioner Stutzman, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'll go first, and I have no announcements today. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just go down the row here.
I don't have anything today.
I don't have anything.
No, sorry, no comment.
2 items. This Wednesday, Tim Gerlach, who was a former commission member, as some people know here, and I are meeting with the city manager to bring him into the fold of our plans or our thoughts and ideas for the Aviation Heritage Center of Kingman Museum, which will be adjacent to the World War II control tower. And he just hasn't really been told, not really formally, but really not at all, about what it is, because Tim and I will be making a presentation to the city council coming up, and we don't want to just have this presentation arrive without him knowing what's going on and show him some images and what the thoughts are and the history behind it and the why and all that stuff. So that's happening. And then the next item is, the last item I have is that there's a potential renaming going on of Rancho Santa Fe interchange. That's the big one, kind of near Rancho Santa Fe, then the road that's coming out to the airport, industrial park, eventually. And some people here may or may not know that I'm very for renaming it. And the name that's getting traction is Flying Fortress. And the reason I'm for that, of course, is aviation oriented, but that airport and industrial park exists because of the B-17 gunnery range that was built, and that's why it was built. It's got international recognition as far as the name goes, and it would honor the people that were trained here and also fought and died in World War II. And I think that this is no offense to any of the names that have come up there, but I'm personally lobbying for this pretty hard. Just want you guys know that that's what I'm for, and it's coming up. And if you guys want to vote for whatever, it's this Thursday, the 27th, is the last day that you can vote online. The council will have the top 5 names that they will vote on it next month, I believe, and then the people will vote again, and whatever top name happens with the second round of voting is what it's going to be named. And I think this would be a massive opportunity to have it be named something with aviation and lean into our history, that what we have here, a tremendous history of that airport and why it's there, and World War II history, and again, aviation. We have this big development coming too that's going to be, people will be exiting off of I-40 going right to the airport from that named interchange. So
That's been a long time coming.
the interchange has been since the 70s.
Yes.
It's been initially talked about, and it's being worked on right now.
When are you presenting to the city council?
Don't know yet. After we meet with the city manager, that's the first topic we talked about. It'll be probably about a month from then, because we're going to get we already have some organization on what we want to talk about. It's going to be a very brief, probably a 15-minute meeting with a video that we've come up with one of our designers, and give background and show the why of what we're doing in working with the city. So we just want to make sure everybody's aware at the council and the scope of the possible project. And it's going to be large.
It'll probably be sometime in March.
I would guess, no, probably
Early
it
April?
could be April, yeah.
Okay.
You want to say something, Doug? I think.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention something here just to make everybody aware. This is really on the county side, but the county is, along with the Army National Guard, FBI, and our local emergency response, including the city's emergency response, is looking at conducting 2 emergency drills out at the airport on April 8th through the 10th. So just be aware of that. If you see some fire trucks and some other movement, it's probably not an actual event. It's just a drill.
And the EAA chapter was the recipient of a number of school children who came out to the EAA for a field trip, the 7th and 8th grade from the Emmanuel Christian Academy came out, and they were given a presentation on aviation, careers in aviation, why an airplane can fly, and then they went for free airplane rides. So that happened on the 11th and 12th of February.
How many people took flights?
We ended up with 16 children. It's a pretty small school, but they were good kids, really polite, not questionable. They asked a lot of questions, is what I'm trying to say, and it was a good time. They enjoyed it. Then I think they went over to the cafeteria and or not the cafeteria, but the airport restaurant and had lunch. So, is there any request for future agenda items? Well, we've completed our agenda. We're adjourned.